Howdy everybody. My name is Jim. You're watching Hatha with Jim. And this is what I like to think of as the Thursday morning posture clinic. And by posture clinic, what I mean is instead of a regular yoga practice, I feel it's important that we can take some time within our own practice to learn a little bit more about postures, how they work, so that we may be able to achieve really good alignment for our bodies. And good alignment for my body is going to look different than good alignment for your body or your partner's body or the person that is next to you, their body. And yoga is not about one size fits all. It's about allowing you to fit the pose, or allowing the pose to fit to you. I think that's more what it is. Allowing the pose to fit to you in a way that works. Okay? So, I know that sounds kind of nebulous, but what that means is that everybody's going to look a little bit different. One of the ways that we can attain good alignment is with the use of props. And I know there are some people that feel using a prop, I'm not going to say it's like cheating, but there's a sense of if I need the prop, I'm not doing it right, or I'm not getting as much out of the pose if I have to use a prop. And nothing could be more wrong. The idea of a prop is to help you achieve that good alignment, to help your body move into a place where the spine can be long, you can be expanding into a pose. Okay? A prop is an aid, and to have disdain for the prop, as in I don't need the prop, well, you might not, but you may need it in ways that you don't even realize. So what this posture clinic today is going to look at are just a few of the ways that props can help to enhance and expand your practice. Okay? This is by no means comprehensive. It's not the end all, the be all, but we're going to look at a few ways that props can really work for you. Now, if you've been a follower of mine or been to my classes or watching these videos, you know that my number one favorite prop is the block. I love the block. I don't know, when this came to be, but this is such a great all-around, all-purpose tool. I'm actually continuing to find new ways to use the block in my own practice. So it goes without saying, whenever I walk into a studio, I'm basically going to load up on props, and I'm going to not only get one block, but if there is an excess of props, I'm going to get 2 blocks. Now, there's a lot of yoga where we think of as less is more, trying to do less so you can have more of the pose. When it comes to the block, I say more is more. Okay? 2 blocks better than 1, and I'll show you a couple of reasons why that may be. The first reason is the block is great to sit on. It's great for that finding your seat. And why is finding your seat important? So here I am, without any kind of back support. I'm sitting in easy pose. And basically, I can sit like this for a little bit, but eventually, and when I say eventually, I mean 20, 30 seconds, I'm going to slump down a little bit, okay? Because of the way that my knees come up a little bit and the weight comes back on the lower part of my back. Look what happens when I elevate the hips. And you can do this with a blanket or a bolster. But what I love about the block, there I have a single block. Watch my knees. I come up onto the block. And notice how the knees come down to the floor, allowing the hips to elevate. Makes it easier to sit tall, open the heart. and much easier to sit like this for, it's not about a longer period of time, it's just about being more comfortable and allowing me to facilitate a full breath and not having to worry about kind of a gentle compression that comes onto the lower part of the spine, just kind of like this, if my hips are above the knees. Now I'm going to show you the side view so you can see where the block is actually situated here. And I want to encourage you, if you're going out to purchase a block, you know, blocks come in different shapes and sizes. This is kind of the standard. I think it's 3 by 4 by 9. And it's solid, okay? There are some blocks that are half this width. And they're also solid, but they're not quite as supportive. Okay, so here I am sitting, and I want you to notice how I'm sitting forward on the block. And I'm kind of half on and half off. Notice how the back of the block is actually off the ground a little bit, so I can kind of slide my hand under. So I'm half on and half off, okay? And the edge of the block, that front edge of the block, it's kind of digging into my butt a little bit. When I say digging, you know, it's just being very supportive, and it's kind of easing the fleshy part of my butt behind me, so I'm a little bit more in the sits bones. And here I am. And it just allows me to be more comfortable and move into the breath, so that instead of this, I'm going to start to think, I got to bring my legs out in front. When am I going to get off my seat? So here's what happens if you use 2 blocks, okay? I'm going to have the blocks together like this. I bring them underneath, and I have kind of like what I think of as a double wide berth. So the blocks are together there, and you can see, again, I'm in the front edge of the block, sitting nice and tall. And here are the blocks enhancing my pose and really allowing me to be more into the pose. So that's one of the things that the block can do. It allows you to get the most out of the pose and be comfortable in it, okay? Very simple, the block finding your seat, allowing you to breathe. And this double wide berth, just a tad more comfortable, but I'm telling you, I'm fine with a single block. And you see a lot of people that use blankets. I see a lot of people when they use their blanket, they have it folded kind of like this, where there's not much of a fold, but here I am on the fold, and there are some poses where I like to be like this, but not so much for a sitting pose, because it's still not getting my knees up very much. So if I use the blanket, say maybe you don't have a block, I would use it like this, and then even like this. And I'm sitting on the fold. And the reason I'm sitting on the fold is that creates more of this ledge, gives me this sense of support, as opposed to sitting on where it's not folded, okay? Now look at this. I'm going to come up. Knees come up a little bit more. A little better than the block, or not quite as much as the block, but certainly better than having just a single small fold. And of course, for finding your seat, some would say the ultimate is the bolster, giving you a sense of lift and support, as well as just a little bit of comfort. Oh, and this is nice. And I remember how excited I was when I went out and ordered some bolsters, and the day my 5 bolsters came in, I used them for my home teaching practice here at home, and it was so exciting to distribute the bolsters and use it for some different things, a couple of which we'll look at in this video. So, but I understand you may not have a bolster. Wow, look how much I come down from the bolster. But we're going to go back to the block. We're going to come off whatever prop you are on. Go ahead and roll the feet. So one of the things that the block also does is that it can allow you to enhance your pose. And by that, we're going to look at something as simple as Baddha Konasana, butterfly pose. That's where you bring the feet together and you sit up nice and tall, and you gently flap the knees, just like that. Now, there are some people where their hips are so open, where their knees are, I'll try and approximate this. See how my knees go to the ground? There's some people where their hips are so wide open, there's not much room to flap. Now, I know there are others of you out there where this is as much as it's going to be, and that's fine, and it's all good. But if you're one of those people where your knees are all the way out here and you feel like you're flapping, you're not getting that much, you can take your block and you can use it in a couple of different ways. Well, it's the same way. You'll see you can place the block between the feet, and that's going to open the hips a little more, and you can do this as you flap, or you can make it a little wider doing this as you flap. Now look how much more my knees are up. There's more stretch going on. Or for the ultimate here, you can separate the feet by this much with the block. Of course, you're trying to sit tall, and as I flap, I'm getting more of a stretch. So that's where the block can aid and enhance your practice. Bring the knees up, the legs out. Ooh, roll them around. All right. So another thing that the block can do is it can really support you in different ways. And got my little cheat note here. I'm just going to do a little bit of warming up here, a little cat and cow. There's no prop involved here, just getting loose a little bit, moving with the breath. And we'll inhale up, hands behind the back. Just going to shoulders back, tailbone tucks, inhale, arms up, while I'm stretching them down. All right. Here's another way that the block can enhance your practice. So you're doing a forward stretch. Now, there are some people who have so much flexibility. I'm not going to be one of those, where your hand, now here's where my hands are. Now I'm going to bend my knees just for effect. But there are some people with their legs straight and their hands are all the way in front of the feet. Now I can't really approximate this, but if you take a block and bring them out like this, basically if your legs would be straight, and the block allows you to stretch more and you lift up. Look at the heart as I allow the block to kind of enhance what I'm doing here. Now obviously you're going to do this with the legs straight, and this is only for folks who have so much flexibility. They get their hands out in front and there's not much stretch going on the block. Imagine my legs are straight, allows you to get a little, and when I gently inhale, draw the heart forward, you can see how I get that extra length in the spine. So for people that have nice stretched out legs, they're not getting much of a stretch, the block allows them to enhance that. I'm going to come standing. The legs are out in front. So one of the principal things that a block can do is allow you to create, again, more lift and length in the spine, okay? Allowing the vertebra to have more separation, to allowing you to just get more out of the pose. This is particularly useful with twists, okay? So I'm going to show you a standing twist here. So here I am, my legs are apart. I bring my hands down to the ground. A typical standing twist might be, roll the shoulder back, inhale this arm up, and exhale, I'm twisting. Sorry, I'm twisting to this side. Now, my hands on the ground, and look at my back here, okay? I'm getting a twist, but what you always want in a twist is to have length in the spine. So look at the difference between this, and I have some flexibility here. So I'm going to inhale, go like this. See how much longer the spine went? I'll show you the side view. Here I am, and then that's the length I get. Now look what happens when I take a block, when I add a block to the equation here. I bring the block in, I can get more lift. Look how much more lift and length I get as I inhale that arm up. And exhale gently, I move into the twist. And release. I'll show you the other side. Without the block, it's easy to feel like, oh, I got my hand to the ground. That's what I want, right? Shoulder back, inhale, twist. Now I have some natural flexibility, so I can do this. As you notice my spine, big difference between this and this. I'm kind of lifting, lengthening, lifting the heart, getting this length here. But look what happens when I add the block. I can do that. Or even changing the altitude of the block, I can go from here to here. And allowing me to get more length. I can put weight into the block as I lift forward. So instead of having all this energy kind of going down, the block allows me the lift and the length to get the most out of this twist. And again, there are people that are like, no, I've got my hand to the ground. I don't need the block. The block would be cheating. While the block in reality allows you to expand your pose, to get the most out of it. All right, so I'm going to place a block on either side. I'm going to show you how the block again can support you in a pose. So we're going to do side angle pose. A side angle often is a pose that's part of maybe a Warrior 2 sequence. So I'm going to go into the Warrior 2. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, even though I could. Bring the hip back, shoulders back, tailbone tucks. There's my foundation, kind of engage the legs. I have good alignment with the feet. Straight line back from the front heel to the back foot. So here I am, inhaling, exhaling. I'm going to come into my Warrior 2 fairly quickly. Notice how my knee doesn't go beyond the ankle. I don't do that. That's hard on the knee. Whole body kind of collapses a little bit. Knee is behind the ankle or maybe right over it. Okay, so here's my Warrior 2. Side angle. I bring the hand to the hip, front arm to the front thigh. Whoop. Make sure I have good balance. Notice the line between my back leg, my side body, and my arm as I come up. So this is fine. You know, this is where you may be for your side angle pose. But you might be someone that brings your hand down to the ground. Now look what happens when my hand goes straight to the ground. There I am. Notice how my whole upper torso kind of collapses. That arm comes down a little bit. Look what happens when I employ the block. I can push into the block, and the more weight I have into this arm going into the block, the more easily I can bend this front knee, the more I can lift and lengthen. Face relaxed. Inhale, coming up. Exhale the arm down. I'll give you the view from this side. Good alignment with the feet. Hips back, shoulders back, tailbone tucks, legs strong. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, I'm going to come down. You could also come down with the arms down. Some find it a lot easier. Actually, I do a lot as well. Kind of find the pose. Once you're kind of there, then you can inhale the arms up. So here I am coming into side angle. And I come down. I'm going to turn this way so you can maybe see with this hand more easily even as I turn my back to you. Align the feet. There's that nice line, the leg, the side body, the arm. As I come down, here I come down without the block. Even with my fingertips outstretched, with the block, I get this length, and I can even make my hand into a fist that might allow me to put more weight into the hand. Notice how I can bend the knee more easily. And I may even want to come up here. Look at this. Now when you have the block this high, you just have to be careful that it's steady, stable. Look at this length I get, as opposed to if I go to the ground thinking, well, but I want to get my hand to the ground. Isn't that the object of it all? No. The object is to create length in the spine. The block allows me to do that. Inhaling up and release. So, just a few examples of the versatility of the block. Okay? So now I'm going to show you the block in combination with some other props, and that's why, you know, when I go into a class, I get a full complement of props, meaning a block or two blocks, if it seems like there's a bounty of blocks to be had. And who knows what it's going to be like when we all start going to studios again. Great time to purchase your own props. You may be finding that you want to bring your own props to your practice. But when I go into a class, two blocks, a blanket, a bolster, and a strap. And you may or may not use these. Sometimes the teacher will say, go ahead and get a block. I find I want to have a full complement because I might find ways that I want to utilize the other props, even if an instructor isn't directing me to. And the more you develop your own practice, the more you'll get a sense of how you can be aided by props to get that good alignment, or to get more release into a pose, or to help expand or enhance your practice. Okay? So, what I wanted to do, I've taken my picture down, and I love this picture, the flying cactus. It's done by my buddy Kobe Miller, who he worked for Lisa Frank, the sticker lady, for a long period of time. He was an ex-neighbor of mine, and through a long series of events, not that long, which I won't bore you with, I came into possession of this great picture. I'm going to take it down off the wall because the wall, there's a prop you can't really go out and purchase, but it's one of the great unsung props that there is. And the wall is good for so many different things that you wouldn't realize. And you know, you may or may not have a wall in your home that you can use for your practice, but if you have one, it's great. Some of the things that the wall is really good for, I think the one that's probably most common is just legs up the wall, or you might be just something like this. And here you are, legs up the wall, just like that. You may want to, on a prop, to enhance this pose. Here's a bolster. I'm going to get the bolster underneath my hips. Gives me just a little bit more support for the spine. Difference between this and that. See how everything comes down here. Look at this nice restorative, and bolsters particularly good for restorative poses. So here I am in that pose. The wall is also really good in balancing poses. And you might think, why would I want to use the wall in a balance pose? Because that's not really balancing, right? Well, I like to think of balance poses as something other than a destination pose. And by that I mean, a destination pose is like getting to the pose, getting to the end point, getting to that the image that you see in a picture or a poster, okay? And I think balance is more of as a process of moving in that direction, of getting towards the picture in the book or the poster. So let's take a pose like dancer pose. So dancer pose, it's tricky. You're going to bring that back foot. There's lots of little things in this. It's easy. You kind of bring that back leg up. Look how my hip goes out. I much more want the knee down and the hip square, and then I come up. Even though I don't come up as high, this is one of those examples of less is more. Less, better like this than like that. So now I've got, you'll notice I've got the wall here, okay? I'm not leaning into the wall. My left arm is just kind of gently against the wall. I'm going to keep these hips square, keep the heart lifted as opposed to this. I'm going to inhale this arm up. Exhale as I come down. My left arm is just kind of gently on the wall. It's keeping me in place, but I'm not leaning into it. But it's helping me to align as I bring this hip down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, ease the foot up. Again, I'm very gently here. You can see my hand coming on and off the wall. But it's so much more, and I lift the heart and release. Wow. I didn't really do much here, but it just kind of helped to keep me in line. I'll do this side. I'm got this foot here. Now, I was taught to bring your hand out like you're hitchhiking. Like anyone remembers that. And then grab the foot. And I find it doesn't really matter. I don't think it matters. If it's easier to get the foot this way, I'm going for that. Now, I'm using the wall as much as I need to, but not more than I need to. I'm not leaning into it. I just kind of have my elbow here and roll the shoulder back, lift the heart. As I exhale, fall forward. Now my right arm is just gently against the wall. It's just keeping me lined up, but without having to lean into it. Working with the breath, with an exhale, expanding. Again, my hand's against the wall. I can kind of play with my balance, if I bring it off the wall, I'm going to lose everything. So I'm going to keep it here. Started to come out of the balance, so I let myself do that so I can come back. Shoulder back, tailbone tucks, inhale, exhale. I'm using the wall a little more on this side than I did the other side. As I inhale, that's just the way that the side is balancing. Instead of rushing to do something else, I'm going to allow the balance to try and help teach me a little bit of patience. I'm going to use the wall maybe more than I need to, so I can find that balance. That knee comes down. Definitely using the wall more on the side. Using it as much as I need to. And instead of trying to come off it, I'm just going to stay here. There we go. I use the wall. And I'm not worried that I use the wall more on this side than the other side, because it allowed me to experience that expansiveness and to actually experience the balance. I have a little saying in my classes: the wall is your friend. Now I'm going to show you a combination of block and the wall. And this is from side angle into Ardha Chandrasana, which is half moon pose. So I've got the block here. So we start out in the Warrior Two. And I'm off the mat here, but I'm on carpet, so that's fine. Bring the hip back, shoulders back, tailbone tucks. I'm going to come down into this pose. I'm going to move back just a little bit to make sure I have enough room. Blocks over there. Inhale, the arms up. Exhale, and coming down. I'm Adjusting the feet, shoulders back. And here I come into side angle, looking up. And you know, you might stay here. You might not need or want the prop because this might be your edge. But if you come down for the prop, and I'm putting some weight here, Ardha Chandrasana, I'm hopping. I'm going to move back just a little bit more. So here I am. That's how I inch my foot up so this knee doesn't go beyond the ankle. As I bend it, put weight into that left hand coming down. Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. I hop the back foot in and I extend the block out. And here I am. And the wall kind of supporting me, but it's more about keeping me in good alignment. See, now notice how I have this full extension of the arms. Now, if you're thinking, well, yeah, but I can get my hand down to the ground. I don't need the block. Notice the difference between this and that. Here I am, hand on the ground. Wow, look at me. But check the spine out. There's a collapsing. The vertebra coming together. Look at the difference between that and this. Huge difference. Oh, I'm getting these nice pops. Wow. And as I come back, I'm going to inhale up into triangle. Exhale. I'll show you that on the other side. Got the block up here. Hips back, shoulders back, tailbone blocks. Inhale the arms out. Exhale, coming down. Adjusting my feet as I need to. With an exhale, I come into side angle or get ready for side angle. Exhale. Using, again, if I feel like, oh, I can get my hand to the ground, look at that. Huge difference between this and this. And then hopping that back foot in and using the block and the wall. The wall is keeping me steady. I'm not leaning back into it. It's just kind of touching the side of one of my butt cheeks here, just helping to keep me aligned and balanced. Look at the full extension of the arm. Allows me to get this full extension here. Again, big difference between this as opposed to, oh, look, I can get my hand to the ground. Isn't that great? Not really. The block and the wall working together. Inhale, step back, triangle. Whoop. And coming up. So again, the wall, fabulous prop. Shake everything out. I'm going to show you, I'm going to grab a second bolster. And I'm going to show you a pose that I can only do with props. It's Supta Virasana. It's a great pose in the world of Bikram hot room yoga. This is a pose that used to be known as firm and fixed position. And I can only do this with a combination of props. Now, one prop I'm going to start with is the blanket. Now, I'm on a carpeted surface here, but most yoga surfaces, or maybe your surface at home, is hardwood or tile. When you come back into Supta Virasana, you might find, and especially, and I have a little bit of a thicker mat, you might come back and you might find like, oh, I can't do this because it hurts the top of my feet. Well, one thing you want to know is that this is a pose that may not be for you. It might be too much, but for me, it starts with the blanket. So I get a blanket here so that the tops of my feet are a little bit more protected. And that goes to the function of the blanket as a prop. You know, the main function of a blanket, it's like why a blanket was invented, was to provide comfort. Not just warmth, but really comfort, okay? And that's how we use it, getting the blanket under the knees when we're on hands and knees. Here it is under the tops of the feet. Now, Supta Virasana is this pose where you come back and once upon a time I could come all the way back and my back could be flat on the ground. Now I can't come close to that anymore, so here I am without a prop. Now I'm still getting a nice stretch in my quads here, but not much else, not really getting any kind of a back stretch. Here's where the props can come into play, and I've got not just one but 2 bolsters, and I'm going to see if these bolsters are enough. And I can also tell you that, like props, not all bolsters are created equal. In fact, you might find a bolster that is half this width. I love these bolsters. They're solid, they're comfortable, they give a lot of lift and support. So I'm going to see if this is enough. So as I get ready to come back, I want these bolsters to be right in the small of my back. So as I come back, I've got a lot of nice support, and I can, here I am now, I'm still, look at that, I can come back, I'm still holding back, because if I let my head come all the way back, well, it does feel pretty good, but the head doesn't feel quite comfortable coming all the way back. So here's an opportunity, and when I'm teaching, it's a lot easier for me to help folks with the use of a block than when you're on your own. But you can kind of figure it out. You can fiddle around. Notice how I'm going to use the block to support my head. And get the block here and there. Wow. With my head released, just like that, I'm completely relaxed, because my neck isn't having to try and do that. It's too much. I'm going to do this, or even this. Again, the different, I could hang out here for a while. I've got the blocks in the small of my back supporting the back, the blanket under my feet giving me some comfort so I don't feel like my feet are, the tops of my feet are grinding into the ground, the backs of the block supporting my neck, allowing me to just release and relax. And I'm going to come up with a breath. And as I come forward into child's pose, I'm going to show you how the bolster can also work to your advantage. Bolsters are great in the use of restoratives. So here I am, I'm going to come into child's pose. Now here's a regular child's pose without a blanket. I'm going to take my glasses off. Now, this is fine in child's pose. You want to just relax everything. Here I am with a bolster. I get the bolster up here, and I can just, maybe I can just relax a little bit more, and I can have some support here to keep the spine from doing that. I can have it do this. And I can turn my head from one side to the other. The bolster very effective in a similar way, and say something like pigeon pose. I'm going to come into pigeon in a nice easy way from already on hands and knees. Oh, I've still got the blanket here. It's under my foot, which is nice. Here I am coming into pigeon. I'll bring my foot up a little bit. So for some people, they're in pigeon and they're just kind of like this because coming down is too much. You can take a bolster here, maybe even have the bolster like this. Again, look at the support I get, allowing me to get this leg back just to relax and release more in the pose. Big difference between this and without that support. I have to be like this, and I don't allow my lower back to disengage and to really release into the pose. Do it from the other side. Stretch this foot out. And the other side. Bring this foot up. Oh, we could spend a lot of time on pigeon pose, but we won't. We're just going to show you how to utilize the supports. Now, here I am. If I slide that back leg back, but I'm supporting in the forearms because coming all the way down might be more stretch than you can handle or that you want. Again, the block or the bolster, I have it like this for maximum length. Just relax. Allows me to extend my arms out. Finding the breath. Now you might be thinking, well, that's nice, but what if I don't have a bolster? Well, here's how you can employ a block or blocks. If you have a block, so here you go from being here, you can bring your head down, get your head in the block, and that allows me to kind of release forward like this. Or maybe if I have two blocks, sometimes I'll position students so they can get their forearms like this, so you get them out in front, so you get this length. And the blocks give me this lift to kind of allow me to extend forward, and having that support. Different than this, that might be too much. So again, maybe I have the blocks. Maybe I only have one block. So maybe I do this. Again, giving some lift and length and support. I'm going to stretch out this back left leg by walking the feet in place. One more way I'm going to show you how props can work in combination with each other. I'm going to do a twist. And I'm going to put the block here. Notice how I have the bolster here. It's kind of like an inclined plane. Now I'm going to lay down on the bolster so my hip here, in this case it's the left hip, is kind of wedged here where the bolster comes in. And I'm going to lay down just like this. I'm going to get my arms out like that. And that feels, wow, this feels like the greatest pose in the world, right? Well, I'm going to lift up. As I come down, I'm going to turn my head so that instead of my left cheek going on the bolster, I'm going to turn my head so my right cheek goes on the bolster. And that makes all the difference. I get this whole twist in the lower back, lower into the middle back. Just breathing, releasing. And by being supported here by the prop, again, I'm set up to have length in the spine as opposed to being like that. I'll show you the other side. Right hip, the right side of the bolster. And I got my arms around. Just before my head comes down, I turn my head so my left cheek is on the ground, on the bolster. The block gives the bolster some lift so I don't come down all the way. And as the case with any pose, if you find this is too much, you'll modify. Maybe you need to come up a little bit more. But there you can see how props work in concert with each other. Well, these are just a few of the ways that props can support, expand, and enhance your practice. Sometimes I'll have someone in class and I'll rarely say this, but I think I want to say like, oh, you're a block denier. You know how there are like climate change deniers. Not going to get into that discussion. But sometimes you'll see people that have a disdain for the block, as if using the block is somehow cheating or negating their practice, when using the block can actually enhance and expand your practice. That's our posture clinic for today. Just a few of the ways that you can utilize some of these props. And the more you can work them into your practice, the more you'll find that your practice has an opportunity to expand and grow and evolve. I'm sitting on a bolster here, giving me some nice lift so I can sit tall. And I can more easily breathe. Bringing my hands together at the heart. And taking a moment to give thanks for all the many blessings in my life, and giving thanks for those things which may present more as challenges than blessings, and being open to the hidden gifts. And with an exhale, bowing to yourself. Inhale coming up. Thank you for joining me, whatever day or time it may be for you. This has been Hatha with Jim. Today's session, I'm not going to say all about props, a little bit about props. Take a nice deep breath in. And again, bowing to yourself. This is how I like to practice. Remember to breathe. Have a great day. We'll see you next time. Namaste.